Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about the super sniper rifles, the battle pickups that you can get in Battlefield 4 that are one-shot, bolt action, or semi-automatic sniper rifles that absolutely tear people apart. Now I've been using them a little bit on Conquest maps, but primarily on TDM to try out philosophy, a plan to see if actually going for these weapons all the time is going to improve your score, your KDR, how well you perform in the servers, or if just picking them up when you happen to come across them is a better plan. Now there's two different types of super sniper rifles. They can come equipped with multiple kinds of scopes, but the base guns are only slightly different. The M82A3 is arguably the best because it has a high rate of fire, 125 rounds per minute, which means it's a nice rate of fire semi-automatic rifle. The AMR-2 is actually a bolt action rifle, so you have to rechamber around every time you shoot. Both guns do the exact same amount of damage, 110 damage, no matter what range you hit your target. Yes, these guns are overpowered, and it's why they're battle pickups, so that they can be overpowered, because if anybody spawned with these sniper rifles, then they would just break the game. That being said, picking up one of these rifles does not guarantee that you're going to do amazingly. It doesn't even guarantee you a kill. If you're in the right situation at the right time, you can do incredibly well with them, but I've picked them up plenty of times and gotten one kill and then just gunned down. Rifles in this game are so effective at long range that you really have to kind of kill somebody with your first shot on these guns, or kill them before they start returning fire, otherwise you're going to be in a bad situation. Now obviously the main benefit with these guns is that you don't have to take your time like a standard bolt action rifle and aim for the head. You can aim for any single part of the body and you're going to get a one-shot kill, which is pretty darn nice. The downside, however, is that these rifles are not as accurate as standard sniper rifles. They actually have a 0.1 aiming down sight accuracy, which you might be thinking, oh, that's still pretty darn accurate. But at further ranges, this actually means that you can miss your target by up to a foot. And you'll see a considerable amount of shots here where I'm aiming dead center and my shots still don't hit. And that's because I have a random deviation in there that really does affect your shot at further ranges. This can be a bit annoying, especially when you run through a bunch of ammo shooting perfectly accurate shots at a stationary target. Now, as long as you're aiming dead center on a target when you take the shot, the random deviation should still hit your target even if it does hit slightly off center. However, if somebody's only barely exposing a small part of their body, and you aim for that, well, because the target is so small, the deviation can cause your shot to miss, and that's where it gets a little bit more annoying. And you can actually be at a disadvantage when going up against traditional bolt action snipers at a range, because they technically have a much more accurate shot. So if they land that headshot and you can't because you don't have the kind of accuracy, then you're kind of screwed. Now, Rogue Transmission is one of my favorite TDM maps to pick up this gun because it's situated in such a good spot that gives you an overview on most of the battlefield, and you can get a ton of kills from an area that has pretty good cover, unless somebody blows up your little double stack with a rocket launcher. But for the most part, I think this is probably the best TDM map to actually pick up one of these guns. Then there's other maps like Paracel Storm, but generally speaking, you don't do as well over there because your cover isn't quite as solid. People can attack you from lots of different areas and sneak up on you. This is one of the few maps where I felt like actively seeking out this weapon actually gave me a pretty big advantage. But the other maps, I found that the rifles were either too far out of my way or just not in good enough positions to make it a huge advantage to actually spend my time going towards that part of the map, and that I would actually do better on TDM if I just engaged targets naturally when I saw them. Other times I would find that the rifle was much more valuable when I was playing on 64-player cluttered TDM servers, because lots of targets would expose themselves all the time and I could just take a lot of easy shots, rack up a lot of easy kills. But if the servers were smaller and players were being a little bit more careful, a little bit more tactical, the rifles themselves were not as useful, because once people get into medium range, this gun doesn't really have much of an advantage at all. And if you happen to pick up one of these rifles on a Conquest large server, or one where it just has one of those highly magnified optics, you may want to just bypass it altogether, because the optic is so magnified that it just doesn't coincide with the actual accuracy of the rifle, and you're going to be at a pretty big disadvantage. I'm not sure why they ever paired these rifles up with such high-powered scopes, because the accuracy just doesn't match up for what they're trying to do. It actually seems like there might have been an error when calculating the accuracy of the guns in the weapon stats, and that the AMR-2, which is the one that you commonly see paired up with the 20 times or the 40 times scope, that one seems like it should have a 0 aiming down sight modifier to its accuracy instead of a 0.1, so it should have a perfect accuracy. And I think DICE might have just overlooked this maybe when they were balancing out the rifles. They possibly could have been a little bit concerned that the guns would have been too good, but I don't think so, considering that they're battle pickups, that it's okay for them to be overpowered, and as long as they're situated in areas that both teams have to fight over, then it makes sense to me. Now, as far as the effectiveness of playing aggressively towards getting these guns each game, I found it to be most effective at the start of a round when I knew a weapon was in a specific spot and I knew where the enemy team was spawning. I could usually get the weapon quickly and get a few easy kills at the start of the round. However, as the round progressed and people became more sporadic and dispersed around the map, it became harder to track them, figure out where I needed to engage them, not to mention the battle pickup would spawn at random times and sometimes other people would get it instead of me. So some maps it was really beneficial, like Rogue Transmission, but then other maps like Parasol Storm, I found the weapon spawn to be a bit out of the way in kind of a dangerous situation, and then once you got it, there weren't that many good areas to snipe from, and usually the enemy was close enough that they'd take you out if you missed your first shot. So ultimately, it really comes down to the map that you're playing on. Rogue Transmission, for sure, it's good to go for. If it's a 64-player game and you happen to find it, then you're in a good spot pretty much no matter what map you're on, because you can usually find some easy targets. But beyond that, I wouldn't be too concerned about how overpowered this weapon is. It's something that's good to pick up if you happen to be near it and it's convenient. But other than that, I wouldn't really plan on making it your primary objective. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing out.